Hi, I'm Marilyn McAllister. I'm a sixth grade teacher at Sunflower Elementary School, and I'd like to share with you my concepts for virtual station rotation. Let's get going. My teaching partner, Jordy Tollefson, we taught sixth grade together a couple years ago. He's now a reading coach, and the two of us, we are just strong advocates of the station rotation model. Both of us use station rotation in our classrooms. Jordy, he likes to bring teams of teachers over to watch in my brick and mortar classroom, but this summer we have collaborated on virtual station rotations. Before we get started, I just want to go over the benefits of station rotation. My mentor is Catlin Tucker. I met her around 7 years ago at a workshop. She's really the person that I saw first using technology, and I said to myself, I could do that. I could do that. If you don't know her, just check her out on Twitter. She has a blog. And I've actually linked one of her blogs in today. So these are benefits of station rotation by Dr. Catlin Tucker. First of all, it frees the teacher to work with small groups of students. As we go back virtually, it's going to be really difficult for us to get those small group interactions, get to know our students. But station rotations will provide an opportunity for you just to work in a small group setting. Number two, it makes differentiating instruction more manageable. So when you have those different levels of students, you're going to be able to manage your differentiation as well. Number three, it creates smaller learning communities within the larger class. So of course, we have our whole class, but the station rotation is going to allow us to have those smaller communities where not only are we learning about our students, but our students are learning about each other. Number four, it encourages communication and collaboration among students. So really, for students to get the most out of their learning, they are doing the thinking. So by station rotation, and if you have a collaborative station, students are talking to each other and making meaning of the content. And number five, it shifts the focus from the teacher to the learner. As 21st century educators, that's really our goal, is to get our students to take the lead. We're more of the facilitators, the guide on the side, and station rotations is a great way to foster that. I have three different ideas for you. I use my station rotation to launch my week. So I use it on Mondays. So mine would be the weekly. But if you decide that you want to do station rotation every day, you could do it daily. So they're daily going to go through station rotations. Maybe you just want to use station rotations periodically. You can use it as a unit launch for a social studies, a science unit, your wonders unit. But just really think about the structure and how you can incorporate it into what you are already doing, or use it as a springboard to launch station rotation maybe for the first time. I'm proposing three types of stations, and these are the types that I use in my classroom as well. So the first station would be the teacher-led station. So in this station, let me backtrack. So if we're doing this virtually, you're going to be in your Zoom or your Google Meet, and then you would be using your breakout rooms, right? So the teacher-led station, that would be with the teacher leading and guiding that station. You can do your mini lesson, you can do skill building, you can use it as a time to provide feedback, intervention, enrichment, discussion. I actually recommend in the teacher station really again, taking yourself as a teacher out of it and letting the students really have a voice. You can also use it as a social emotional check-in. The second station that I like to do is a collaborative station. So in this station, you would have a student leader that would be guiding that station. I do recommend whatever activities you have in your collaborative station, you have practiced them whole group. So maybe you're going to do vocabulary. You have a vocabulary structure that you've been doing a couple times in whole group. Then you can see who your student leaders are. They can follow that same format that you're using whole group, but they can guide it in a small group. So some collaborative station ideas. They can watch a video together. They can do Socratic seminar. They can do a KWL chart in a collaborative document. They can do an oral reading. Maybe they're doing their close reading and they can do their second read or even their first read together. You can pair students up in the collaborative station to do some collaborative editing together. Question formulation technique. If you have a provocation and you want students to ask questions about it, this would be a great station rotation in the collaborative station. The third station that I would recommend is an independent station. So in this station, you might use your online tools like Freckle or MobyMax, and just, again, consider what you are using in your school or your site. I like my independent station to be the Engage and Explore of a HyperDoc. Maybe students are doing self-selected research. They can do that, right? So these are what I'm proposing the 3 stations be, which whatever cycle you choose to do, daily, weekly, or even a unit launch. This is a sample schedule. So you can see on the left, teacher-led station, collaborative station, independent station. So this is almost your lesson plan. What's the activity? What's the description of what's going to happen during that station? Then the location, where is this happening? And then what supplies are students going to need? Jordy's put together a sample primary schedule. So in his teacher-led station, he's going to do a small group reading instruction. He's going to have 3 different groups. So his target groups are going to be struggling, on level, and advanced. And they'll be in their breakout room. And he has his supplies that students are going to need. In his collaborative station, he's recommending high frequency words and sentences. So again, this structure of how to do the high frequency words, how to do the sentences, he will have already taught students how to do that. But Jordy is going to have a screencast, and the leader of the group will be able to play the screencast for the group. And independent station, he's going to do Freckle on this particular day. So this is a really good example of structures and routines that Jordy's setting up in his primary classroom to help students be successful for station rotation. And here's an upper grade sample that I've put together. So in my teacher-led station, I'm going to do cause and effect. So in this particular week, the reading skill that I'm working on is cause and effect. I'm going to introduce cause and effect. I'm going to have some sentence frames, and students are orally going to create their own and share their examples of cause and effect. They'll be in the breakout room with me, and I'm going to have an anchor chart for us to look at for inspiration. And the story this week is about baby orca laws. It's a new Newsella article. And during the collaborative station, students are going to watch a broadcast called Grieving Killer Whale. And it is in the HyperDoc. There'll be a student leader that's leading that session. They'll watch the video and they'll annotate their thoughts on the HyperDoc Explore section. The independent station, students will do the engage. So this is really what they know about whales. They're going to be looking at a picture to get them started. So you can see in this one, I do rely heavily on my HyperDocs to guide mine, because I use my station rotation on Monday as my weekly launch. But again, you think about your classroom, what your goals are, and then modify this to meet your particular needs. And I do recommend the heterogeneous groups for station rotation. You want to have that balance of high, medium, and low. Getting started, we might need to enlist the support of the grade level before us to give us some information about our students. We don't have our state testing from last year, but we still could use the state testing from 2 years ago to help us with academic levels. Also think about behavior. If there's students that you know work well together, students that maybe don't work well together, but use your best discretion on how you're going to have 3 balanced groups for those groupings. I do recommend that groups have team names. Let the teams name themselves, right? So that really, when we think about classroom community, students naming their team, that gives them the ownership of it. On station rotation days, you want to have your students name themselves with their team name, because when you send them to breakout rooms, it's going to make it a lot easier for them to for you to put them in breakout rooms. So Jordy, he's the Hedrick superstar. So if his team decided they were the superstars, he would be superstar Jordy, right? And then all the superstars would have their name. So when I go to breakout rooms, it's going to make it easy for me to group students, because all the superstars, you're in group 1. All of, the Mavericks, you're in group 2, right? So do have your teams name themselves. On station rotation name days, you can have them log in by their name. If let's say Jordy didn't log in with Jordy, he can rename it. So on the top right-hand corner, there's an option to rename. So Jordy can go back. Oh, I forgot, Ms. McAllister. That's okay, Jordy. Just go rename yourself, right? Okay, here is a sample station rotation cycle. In my brick and mortar classroom, I do actually 4 stations of 20 minutes each, but virtually I'm thinking 15 minutes is going to be enough time. As the year progresses, we can even extend that. If you're primary, you might even start with 10 minutes, because 10 minutes could be a very long time for primary students. So you can see the cycle of the 3 different groups. So I do recommend making the chart yourself. That's going to give you that visual, and do front load this with your students. So let them know. And again, instead of group 1, it would be superstars. Instead of group 2, it would be the Mavericks. So do rename it by the name of the team. I'm planning on sending this through Google Classroom, so students have their station rotation cycle as well. The structure I'm encouraging for your Zoom or Google Meet meetings: when you start your session, introduce sessions whole group. So class, today in stations, you're going to be doing these 3 stations. Explicitly go through each one of the stations, because once you get going, you're going to be with your station, and you're going to need to be attentive to your station. So you're going to want it to be very clear what your learning intentions are for the day. Second, share the station rotation schedule that we just covered. Send students to their breakout rooms. Use a timer. It's going to be really important that you actually use that timer. If you do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but honor the time. Even if you haven't finished your station, you need to honor that 15 minutes. If not, students aren't going to know whether they can count on a 15-minute station. Well, last time she went 20 minutes. And she only did 10 minutes. So you really want to honor that 15-minute station, whether or not you finish or not. After each station, bring your class back whole group and have a debrief. So your teacher station, you might give a real, hey, you know what? We did really good. We were able to finish everything. Is there a volunteer in the collaborative station to let us know how it went? Oh, you know what, Ms. McAllister, we had trouble accessing the video. Oh, good to know, right? Then you can go troubleshoot that real quick. Okay, independent station, how did you do? Oh, you know what? I actually finished early, so I went and did silent reading on my own. You know what? Good choice, right? So be sure to have that debrief. At the end of your 3 stations, bring everyone back together to wrap it up as a whole group. This is where you can have an oral debrief, or you might want to have some sort of a written reflection, but really share what went well and what can be improved on. The first couple times you do station rotation, it's really about the procedures, how to work as a team, and just really hone in on how to be successful. Once you've done 2 or 3 sessions, they should work pretty fluidly, and then you're going to be able to really ramp up your content at that point. I'm also proposing a 1 day a week peer group cycle. So this one, I'm envisioning it being in the afternoon. So my morning really focusing on my ELA, my math content, take a little lunch break, maybe 30 minutes, come back in the afternoon. And this is where I could have my peer groups. And then for the teacher's only going to meet with 1 group a day. So I'm proposing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I would have a Tuesday peer group. I'd have a Wednesday peer group. I'd have a Thursday peer group. But for me, I'm only meeting with 1 group a day. So these groups, I'm not meeting with them every day, but I'm meeting with them 1 day a week. I do recommend it be a different group of students than your station rotation cycle. It's going to be tricky on building those relationships with ourselves and our students. So if you have a different group of kids working together, they're going to be able to make bonds and connections with each other with your different groupings. Students not with the teacher will do independent work. So in order to honor the time that the state has allocated for each grade level, students that aren't with you, this is where they're going to be doing independent work. So based on your morning, whatever your goals and objectives were in the morning, they can be finishing those in the afternoon. You can use the peer group as a social emotional check-in. You can do intervention groups, enrichment groups, inquiry teams. I'm really thinking at the beginning, it's going to be the social emotional check-ins. As we start figuring out what students need, what skills, we're going to know pretty quickly which students need intervention, which students need enrichment. I do a lot of inquiry. So once November, December comes in, they'll be doing their inquiry teams. And this will be a good opportunity to build the inquiry teams into your weekly peer group cycle. But again, think about your classroom, your needs, and how you can modify the peer group 1 day a week cycle with your students. And here's just a graphic organizer for you to plot out your students. Remember, I do recommend that they're a different grouping than what you have for your station rotation cycle. And a last configuration that I'm going to recommend are Campfire Groups. Jennifer Gonzalez, she's the host of Cult of Pedagogy. She has a blog and a podcast. Phenomenal educator. She does so much research when she puts her articles together. So in one of Jennifer's blog posts, 9 ways online teaching should be different from face-to-face, she suggests Campfire Groups. The Campfire Group, they're small groups. So picture yourself at a campfire, you're cozy, you're comfortable, and you're really being vulnerable, right? That's where you're building those real interpersonal connections with each other. On the Campfire Groups, I'm recommending groups of 4 or 5 students, so a smaller group of students. Allow students to self-select at least 1 member. When you think about the campfire, you're usually sitting by your best friend. You're sitting by the person that you feel the most comfortable with. So this will be a great opportunity for you to honor those friendships that students are bringing into your classroom. This, in my opinion, is a true social emotional group, and think about it as a support group for each other. Or when you hear, in junior high and high school, who's your study buddy? Who's your phone a friend? This Campfire Group, that's your team. Those are your people, right? At the beginning of the year, the teacher's really going to need to help foster communication between students. I'm recommending that the first couple of times you do your campfire groups, you provide prompts for students to discuss. Maybe what are your strengths, right? So if you know academic strengths, oh my goodness, I love math. That is what gets me going. You know what? I like it when we do experiments. I'm really good at that. Or maybe that's where students can be vulnerable and say, you know what? I'm not really good at math. I get really intimidated. And allowing students to really show their strengths and also their vulnerabilities in that group is going to help each other foster respect and trust with each other. And I do believe this will lead to a safe student community. So as the teacher, you're going to need to pop in and out of groups to see how the discussion is going, but really think about those of us that put our students in pods. So visualize a classroom where you have pods of 4. Sometimes we have to have that pod of 5 if we have an odd group, but visualize your classroom in your pods. This is your campfire group, right? And I do recommend that you change groups quarterly. That way they do experience different people. For me, I actually change my groups with my Wonders unit. So anytime I have a new Wonders unit, I call it moving day. So that's when we have moving day and we get to be with different people. But I always let students self-select at least one person that they want to be with. And I think during this online time, students are going to need that one person that they really trust and feel comfortable with. And I just want to thank you. Jordy and I, we love collaborating. My expertise is upper grade, and Jordy, he's just awesome with everything. So feel free to reach out either to Jordy or myself. We would love to collaborate with you. If you feel like you want to jump in one of my classrooms and watch one of my classes and watch me do a station rotation, send me a DM, email me. So that is our session. Bye.